الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وصلى على محمد النبي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذريته وآل بيته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. أما بعد. The surah started tonight after finishing Surah Tawbah was Surah Yunus. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the beginning of Surah Yunus, كَانَ لِلنَّاسِ عَجَبًا أَنْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنْهُمْ أَنْ أَنذِرِ النَّاسَ وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنَّ لَهُمْ قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ قَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ إِنَّ هَذَا لَسَاحِرٌ مُبِينٌ. Meaning that people sometimes, or a lot of people, not some people, but most people reject prophets. And their excuse is that how can a human being be sent to us? How can Allah send a human being to deliver His message to us? And they think that this is something that is ajab. Ajab in English? Strange. They think that is strange. How can Allah choose a human being? How can Allah communicate with this human being and send a human being to us? Actually, the ayah says the way they are thinking is the strange thing. The way these people think is what we should be amazed about, or not amazed about, but the way they're thinking is what is strange and what should be corrected. Because these people do not understand the value of the human being on this earth. If they understood the value of the human being in the eyes of Allah, they would not be surprised that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has delivered a message to a human being, or has communicated with this human being. Allah created this human being, Adam alayhi salam, the father of all human beings, in the heavens. And He taught him himself. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. The language that this human being speaks is taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No other creation on earth has this comprehensive language. It is a direct teaching of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know that if a child is born and he was deaf from the time he was born until he's about 3 years, and then he starts hearing, you know that this child can never learn language anymore. Why is that? Because if the centers of language are not exposed to language during that time, they fade away and they die. Just like the centers of sight and other things. If you, like for instance, if a child is born with what we call squint, or he cannot, and then this squint is not corrected, the centers of sight in his brain will also be impaired if it's not corrected in time. This human being was taught this language from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not like the people who deny Allah want to explain it. They say, oh, people got together, they didn't speak in the beginning. They think people used to talk like monkeys. And they got together and they started making up words, and they became more complex and more complex. Now they have the comprehensive language. Subhanallah. How can people get together and make up language? If they did not hear language before 3 years, they will never develop language. Did they get together when they were 2 years old? So Allah created this human being with the ability to learn language, and Allah delivered this language directly to him. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Just like He taught him the language, He is the one who taught him the Quran and all the revelations that Allah has sent to him. Look at Surah Al-Rahman. Al-Rahman علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. Look at the link between علم القرآن, He taught him the Quran, and He created him, and He taught him the language. Subhanallah. There's a link between teaching him the language and teaching him the Quran. The language can only be taught directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And similarly, the Quran and all revelations of Allah are taught directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to this human being. This human being is very valuable in the eyes of Allah. Meaning that a ruler over this earth, controller. He controls all this earth and controls all the creatures that Allah has put on this earth. Allah made the angels bow down to Adam alayhi salam. Imagine angels that never disobey Allah and they always worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they live in the heavens. They don't live on earth. These angels, Allah made them bow to Adam, showing the value of Adam in the eyes of Allah. When Iblis refused to bow to Adam, he expelled him from Jannah. Why is that? That is because of the value of human beings. And also because Iblis disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody can do that. So based on the value of this human being and his mission and his status on this earth, it is expected that Allah, after He has put him on this earth and put him in control of everything, to tell him what to do with it, right? Does it make sense for the Creator to put you in control of everything and make you such a smart creation of His, very intelligent, and also you have the ability to go right or left and do right or wrong, commit evil or do good? A human being can do everything. And then leave you without telling you why you were put here, why you were put in control of everything, which way to go, right or left, how can you protect yourself, where are you ending after you die, why do you die, and where do you go after you die? And this responsibility that you are given, is it just given to you and then taken away without any consequence? This does not make any sense. So the people who think otherwise, their thinking is strange. And then, what kind of messenger did they expect? He has to be a human being like you. If he was not a human being like you, then you would make 1,000 excuses not to follow him. You say, no, I'm going to sin because my messenger was an angel, and I'm not an angel. My messenger was another creation. He does not have my desires, and the stress I'm in and the way I think is different from his. So how can I follow him? And if he was not a human being, how can he even communicate with other human beings? He has to live their life and show them how to live their life. And that is why it is strange. It would have been strange if the messenger was not a human being. And Allah said in Surah Al-Isra, وَمَا مَنَعَ النَّاسَ أَنْ يُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا أَنْ قَالُوا أَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ بَشَرًا رَسُولًا قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَلَائِكَةٌ يَمْشُونَ مُطْمَئِنِّينَ لَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ بَشَرًا لَا مَلَكًا رَسُولًا. Allah says, the biggest barrier between human beings and listening to the word of Allah is saying, oh, this word came from a human being, like me. Like the people of Thamud said, أَوْنْزِلَ عَلَيْهِ الذِّكْرُ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا. Is it possible? How can we believe that from amongst all these millions, this human being received a message from Allah? None of us did. أَوْنْزِلَ عَلَيْهِ الذِّكْرُ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا. They say, بَلْ هُوَ كَذَّابٌ أَشِرٌ. He must be a liar. Immediately they said that. Also here, it says the biggest barrier between them and listening to the flow of the word of Allah and accepting it as coming directly from Allah is the mediator. They say, إِلَّا أَنْ قَالُوا أَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ بَشَرًا رَسُولًا. How can Allah put a human being to deliver the message? That is the biggest barrier between them and believing the word of Allah. Allah says, tell them, if this earth was inhabited by angels, I would have sent a messenger who was also an angel. He must be of their same nature. Inshallah, we'll stop here. We'll continue some other time.